Well, hello everyone! How are you today? I hope that you're doing well. Let me introduce myself. My name is Salwa, and here I will take you to a place that has lived through more than a century of change. The Chalomadu. Ladies and gentlemen, when I first visited Chalomadu, I heard nothing at all, only echoes of old machines. But the same halls a century ago was full of workers. The sound of steam and the smell of sugar. Built in 1861 by Mangkunegaran I, Chalomadu became one of Java's first modern sugar factories. It is a symbol of progress and pride. For more than 100 years, it produced sugar that fueled the region's economy and also the lives around it. Ladies and gentlemen, sadly, just like many other stories of industry, it slowed down. In 1981, the production stopped. The machine turned silent. Rust covered the pipe and dust filled the room. The Chalomadu became a ghost of what once it was. Ladies and gentlemen, for years the Chalomadu stood empty, waiting. But then came a decision to save it. In 2018, the factories opened again, but this time not for production, but for preservation. Now it has become what we know now as the Chalomadu, a site of heritage and culture destination here in Karanganyar. Ladies and gentlemen, the wall that once held boilers and gears now held concert, exhibition, and also people who came not for sugar but for some stories. When I visited Chalomadu, I saw children running to the white halls, families taking photos under the tall chimney, and also students learning how the factory once worked. Ladies and gentlemen, let me share you some 3 simple moments from that visit. First, it would be the main hall. It is huge, bright, and open. You can actually still see some of the steel beams that once held the machinery, and also the old track where the sugar cart used to roll. But now those same track leads us to modern stage for performance. Ladies and gentlemen, it is proof that the Chalomadu is more than just some old factory. It is proof that history could be useful. First, it teaches us cultural value because it keeps local identity alive. Second, it teaches us educational value because young people can learn real history here. Third, it also teaches us economic value because the site now supports tourism and community activity. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chalomadu is more than just some buildings or machine. It is about people, hard work, and transformation. It is about what once fed the world with sugar, now feeds minds with stories. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever visit Karanganyar, visit the Chalomadu. Walk through its halls, listen to its silence, because in that silence, you'll hear history speaking. Ladies and gentlemen, the Chalomadu stopped making sugar. What once a place for work, now it is a place for stories. Now, thank you for listening to me and listening to my story to keep the story alive. I'm Salwa Izza. See you next time. Goodbye.